Hello viewers, my name's Alan and welcome to my home workshop. In this video I'm going to start making a blanket box for my daughter. I'm nobody's cabinet maker. Done a bit of carpentry and building level work, and for example I've lined out a shed and with a timber ceiling, tongue and groove. In fact, this material here is what was left over from that job. So I need to prove a method, and this is what I decided to do. So this material here is 19 by 42. This particular wood is some scrap hardwood that was lying around, and I used it to prove the method. So what I've done is cut a channel here, the width of the tongue and groove board, and on the horizontal pieces I've cut a tenon to fit in to the channel. So it should be like that. And then of course the tongue and groove board will fit in there. Now I'm making the box for my daughter, the customer if you like, and she said that she preferred the look of pine against pine, so I won't in fact be using this hardwood for the real box, which you will have noticed in the introduction picture. But anyway, I'll get to it and start showing you exactly how I've made it. So this is the setup that I used for cutting the tenons, and this stop block here sets the depth of the distance in from the end to 10 millimeters, and the depth stop on the saw here is set to give the depth into the so how thick the tenon's going to be. So that's the basic setup. So the finish off the saw is obviously rougher than you get from a plane or a chisel, but it gives a very good surface for the glue to hang on to, and the dimensions are close enough that it's quite okay. I was thinking about using a router, but I got a good enough job doing it this way and it was quick and easy. So I cut the grooves or channels that the ends of the panel boards seat into and that the tenon's going to, using a Triton saw bench. It's a pretty ordinary tool I suppose, but it's what I've got, so it's what I used. The whistling that you can hear before I actually fire the saw up, or while the saw is not running, is the dust extraction system sucking air around the blade. And I think, as you'll see in some of the pictures, apparently the blade's getting a bit blunt, so I'll have to do something about that, I suppose. But anyway, it got the job done. The grooves didn't need to be a particularly precise width or depth, just as long as the ends of the boards were a reasonable fit. In fact, actually they needed to be a little bit loose because the ends of the panel boards were cupping quite significantly, so they wouldn't have fitted into a groove that was an exact width of the board. I mean, the boards were 11mm thick, but if I'd made the grooves 11mm, they wouldn't have fitted because of the cupping. So precision wasn't really needed, and it worked out fine. Some of the grooves needed a little bit of a clean up with the chisel just to get those odd little bits of wafer out that the blade missed, but not much clean up required really. So here are all the pieces for the first end panel, and you can see here that I did a dry fit up to make sure they would all fit together before starting the gluing. Okay, starting to glue up. Background noise you can hear is rain. Prepared a couple of lolly sticks for the glue spreading, then completely ignore them. So putting a bit of glue on the first frame piece, the first tenon, and as you'll see, I forgot to put glue on the end of the frame piece, so I've only managed to get it on both sides. The second blunder is getting caught out by excess glue, and that's a rookie mistake, squeezed out of course, and didn't have anything on hand to clean it up. Yeah, both sides. Looking around, what am I going to find here? Oh, I better scoot next door, see if I can find something. And came back with one tissue, can you believe it? Just one tissue. Anyway, start with a bit of a clean up. So gluing the other piece up. And forget again to do the end. A whole lot more glue squeeze out naturally. So then I go to do the put the other piece on, but remember just in time that I've actually got to put the panel in there before I put that last piece on. Glue's getting in the way. Get myself in a tangle already here. Fortunately, the panel pieces do actually slip into the channels quite freely, so that wasn't a problem. No, you're not going to put the glue on the frame piece, you're going to put it on the tenon. Come on, get your act together. All that glue. Slap on too much glue again. But at least this time I remember to put it on the end of the tenon. Come on, that's enough glue to sink a ship. Come on, get on with it. Right, now we've got to try and fiddle that frame piece on. Yeah, right, let's put that on. The third challenge now is that I deliberately made the panel pieces a couple of millimetres short, so make sure they couldn't interfere with the assembly. But that also means that I can't just push the top and bottom rails together. I have to actually hold them out to be flush with the ends of the side rails. But it's time to try and squeeze the sides together. Squeeze even more glue out, of course. So I've got to try to hold those rails against the I've got the whole thing sitting in a jig, which is two pieces at right angles, and I can use it to align those bottom rails so that they are in line with the ends of the side pieces. So I've got to try and make sure the whole panel stays square while I'm doing all of this. Now I did have some clamps ready to, I did have some preparation, but unfortunately what I didn't get organised was an appropriate block. So now I'm faffing around again, looking for some blocks to reach over that thicker piece of wood that you can see on the right hand side. But first I've got to clean some more glue up, so I thought I'd have a go with the chisel here, try and scrape some off. Yeah, that didn't work very well. Yeah, forget that. So I've got to just wipe it off. Wiping it with a tissue seems to be my best shot, and I just have to worry about cleaning the glue off afterwards somehow, sand it off I suppose after it's dry. Yeah, that's looking a little bit cleaner. No, but now I just suddenly remembered I've got to check the other side for all this excess glue, because it's probably squirted out there as well. But fortunately, as it turned out, it wasn't too bad, so I didn't have much to clean up there. I had at least prepared to the extent of putting some plastic down so that I wouldn't get glue over the workbench underneath and have the door actually stick to the bench, which would have been a disaster. So, second attempt at clamping it all together. Those clamps do at least seem to work reasonably well at pulling the sides in. So now the other thing I have to do is pull the corners of the panel down to make sure it stays flat against the workbench. Otherwise it has a natural twist in it, just because of pine doing what pine likes to do, turning into spaghetti. So that's not going to work. Come on, get your act together. You're not going to be able to get an effective clamp on that. You need a different piece of wood. No, that's not going to fit. That's too long. Finally, something that might actually work. Alright. Dither. I was fretting about the glue drying and how much time I would have, working time I would have to actually move things around. You can tell I have very little experience at gluing up pieces of wood. Dither. Where are those other clamps? Finally starting to think I've got this under control to a degree. So just quick check, make sure the clamps are tight, things are all pulled up. Finally, it's done, for better or for worse. We'll see when we pull the clamps off just how big a mess I made of it and whether it's at least square. Alright, well, it's the next day, it isn't raining anymore. Time to inspect this and see what came out of the gluing debacle yesterday. Oh, let go. Okay. And you let go. Thank you. So first up, let's see if it turned out to be square. Yeah, pretty happy about that. Let me check the other way. Yeah, that's pretty good. Can't complain about that. And is it flat? Oh, it's a very slight twist to it, but nothing that would be problematic there when I put the box together. The ends seem to be reasonably fitted in. Joints in all four corners look quite tight. So, apart from it's a bit of a open there. Oh well, and a bit of glue to clean up with a bit of sanding. But otherwise, not a bad start. I've just got to do a lot better with the gluing somehow. Well, that's the first one done, so now I know how I'm going to do the other three.